Thank you very much, our chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, dear organizers of this conference, I'm very happy that I could be again in Woliń, the place, I think, the capital of Slavdom and sometimes in Vikings. So we are just in very important place on the map of early medieval Europe. Adam of Bremen explained that it is the biggest town in Europe, and I'm sure that today, because of our presence, that's true. Let's start. For more than 200, yes, I start from this picture. For more than 200 years, there is a tradition of celebrating the baptism of Pomerania, or more precisely, the anniversary of the events of 1124. Of course, talking about the first missionary expedition of St Otto of Bamberg to Pomerania. A great example is the so-called St Otto's well in Pyrzyce, the first settlement on his Pomeranian route. The monument was erected in 1824 to commemorate the baptism given here by Ottona. Significantly, after the lands were joined to Poland in 1945, the local community cares for this monument and continues the memory of the beginnings of Christianity in this town. Otto arrived to Pyrzyce in June 1124, and his first expedition, we can see, was, or maybe the theater of this first expedition was West Pomeranian Duchy, under the rule Wartislaw I, founder the Griffith dynasty. The expedition covered, as can be seen in the map, where is the map? Here. After Pyrzyce, or maybe, what is? After Pyrzyce, we have coming next Woliń, but unsuccessfully for the first time, next Szczecin, and again, and Lubin and Grodziec, maybe here. But Lubin, you have a nice relations from excavations led by Marian Dębkowski, and I'm very happy and very envy, because it was so great to be one day or two with Paulina, I remember, and Andrzej as well, I hope, because it was my first real excavations, and I'm very proud, but I'm envy because they have 2 seasons and I have only 2 days. Okay, so I'm back to the map. Next is Woliń again, and now, and then it was successful, and next Kłodona, maybe Kłodkowo, and Kolberg, Kołobrzeg, Białogard, and back to Ujście. So it's till February next year, so 1125. Otto undertook also the second journey, missionary journey to Pomerania, in fact to lands of Lutycians, which are subordinated to Wartislaw I, and during this journey he joined to this network of churches that he built. Demin, Chodzków, it's heute is Bickow, and Wolgast, and Uzedom, of course, in this map is Uzedom, very important place. You can see picture I took last year. In this place there was a rally which decided to open the gate for Christianity in this part of West Pomeranian Duchy in 1128. The success of the missions of Otto's brought the permanent implantation of Christianity in the West Pomeranian Duchy. Otto himself earned the title Apostle of Pomeranians in the church tradition, which was officially confirmed 50 years after his death at his canonization in 1189. Behind the conferring of this title on Otto was the theological conviction at that time, even after many centuries, the church was still capable of generating signs worthy of being placed on a row with St. Peter, St. Paul, St. Thomas. This is how Otto was placed by his biographer, the monk Ebo of Michelsberg. He was writing around 1152. Ebo is the author of the second of 3 lives of Otto, which were written in the 2 decades following his death. Ebo, in a sense, developed the ideas present in the first of these vitas, of these lives, but written by anonymous monk from the monastery of Prüvening near Regensburg. For this one, for anonymous monk, Otto for this anonymous emphasized that Otto had realized a common work with apostles, but titled him more modestly, only vir apostolicus, apostolic man. Already in this first work, a canon was established in presenting Otto not only as a missionary to the pagans, but also as an illustrious bishop, statesman, extremely prominent founder of monasteries and reformer of cloisters, monasteries, and no less appreciated for his charitable work. The third of Otto's biographers, Herbert of Michelsberg, writing around 1159, placed primary emphasis on these achievements which were not directly related to his work with pagans. He eloquently emphasized that, yes, he could be compared to St. Peter, but on the same basis as Mantua to the Rome. The discrepancy between Ebo and Herbert's in their portrayal of Otto's merits is due to the different aims of their work. The 2 authors working in the same monastery in drawing the biography of Otto promoted different visions on monastic reform. This is a separate topic which I'm only signaling. It should be emphasized that in the end that Ebo's view won out, and in the tradition Otto therefore enjoys the title of Apostle of Pomeranians, or Apostolus Pomeranorum, you can say exactly. The Pomeranians basically formed in the 11th century, significantly. Let's go to this area. Significantly, it was not a single political community, but primarily a territorial one. The conglomeration of tribal and early urban communities in the area between Lutetians, Lutici, and Prussians. It means in a strip from the Oder to the Vistula, firstly, but we can see that this Lutytian area was also important as a part of West Pomeranian Duchy during the time of mission of Otto. Significantly, the name of Pomorze, Primorie, Slavic Pomorze, Pomerania, originally referred to the area directly at the sea. However, it was in the 11th century that it was extended into the interior as the Noteć river or Warta, maybe in this part, because it is discussion if in early Middle Ages it was Warta or Noteć. But it's a different story. But the people of Pomerania, maybe the tribe of Pomeranians, gens Pomeranorum in Latin, were treated in the 12th century primarily as one space for political and military expansion, but on the other hand, as a community waiting, as it were, to be incorporated into the church. These political and religious aspects in the depiction of Piast's expansion to the north were combined by Gallus Anonymus. Around 1115, this father of Polish historiography, I could say, wrote that the contemporary Polish ruler, Bolesław Krzywousty, Bolesław the Rhino, where is he? Bolesław, come to us. Moment. Yes, just like alive. Was fighting the Pomeranians, Old Prussians, and Silesians. I create this name a bit, perhaps referring to Lutytians. And of course, he was fighting in order to convert them. So the monk chronicler promoted ideas that gave the military effort a religious meaning. One can speak here of idea of holy war. At that time, in the era of crusades, it took on a special significance. Herbold of Michelsberg put it similarly, writing that Bolesław decided either to convert the Pomeranians or to exterminate them. It is therefore no coincidence that this third of Otto's biographers strongly emphasize Bolesław's efforts to convert Pomeranians. In the agreement ending the war, Bolesław imposed an obligation on the Pomeranians to convert. He also made an effort to provide them with an excellent evangelizer. It means Otto, of course. But in fact, the mission itself was not supported by coercive means. Herbold himself stressed that the purpose of Otto's actions was precisely to convince the Pomeranians to abandon paganism and convert to Christianity of their own free will. I will return to this issue later, but in the meantime, it is worth emphasizing that both Gallus Anonymus and Herbold, within their narratives, also clearly indicate the economic goals of the Raimund's expansion to the Baltic, as well as the political goals of imposing a military alliance on Pomeranians. Above all, it is worth emphasizing that Bolesław the Raimund, from the very beginning of his reign, by regularly undertaking incursions into Pomerania, could at most derive temporary benefits from the short-lived supremacy imposed during his expedition. Moreover, the Pomeranians were not lambs waiting to be corralled. They plundered Poland, Denmark, and Lutytians. They were famous for their piracy and kidnapping. The wars undertaken against them by Bolesław were therefore also of a defensive or retaliatory nature, though above all of plundering nature, we should admit. This was pointed out by Evo of Michelsberg. He had highlighted Bolesław's numerous raids on the Pomeranians, eventually concluding that for the conversion of the Pomeranians, these were ineffective. In the light of Evo's account, it becomes clear that the Polish-Pomeranian conflict was a permanent and long-established state of affairs, and that Otto, as an apostle, brought not only the promise of eternal salvation, but also temporal peace in his evangelization package. And so, on his second journey in 1128, Otto stopped Bolesław's invasion of Pomerania. From the perspective of the glass and eye, however, Otto a bit exaggerated, and as his story did not mention Otto's invitation by Bolesław to undertake the mission at all. In this situation, it is worth considering the voice of Eckhard of Aura. This chronicler wrote in a current context of these events around 1125. He mentioned that Bolesław had conquered the Pomeranians and asked Otto to undertake a mission to them, but he also took into account the will of the Pomeranians themselves. They had suffered so much from Bolesław's invasions that they themselves sought asylum in Christianity. The inclusion of the Pomeranians as the decision makers on conversion is the key to creating a more complete picture to show the genesis and the course of Otto's mission. It was part of civilizational changes which had been taking place in Pomerania since the times of the first Piasts. In the century preceding Otto's mission, on the one hand, attempts were made to bring the area under the rule of the Polish monarchy, and on the other, political organizations were formed in Pomerania which entered into short-lived relations with their Christian neighbors. At the stage of Otto's mission, the strongest organism was the Duchy of West Pomerania under Warcislaw I. It was this ruler who became the political partner of Bolesław the Rhine, recognizing his supremacy. Warcisław also accepted Otto's mission as a host in 1124. He himself was already baptized and had Christians in his milieu, even a Christian wife, but maybe probably because it could be a topos. There is a discussion. He favored the Christianization of his country. However, he was unable to overcome the resistance of the local communities. A similar situation, it means the rule of baptized elite over officially pagan subjects were also known from neighboring Połabia. Professor Lipke is here, an expert in this area, so we are happy. Warcisław in Western Pomerania, by concluding a treaty with Poland in the face of his own military defeat, was in fact consolidating his existence in the system of Christian monarchies. Pomerania's integration into the Latin circle of European civilization thus progressed, and it had more aspects. Let us mention trade relations. Fish, salt, and amber were the source of wealth for Pomeranian towns. Their development brought the Pomeranians civilizationally closer to their neighbors. Paradoxically, however, it was the development of the towns that proved to be a factor restraining possible conversion. The local communities clustered around the cities were integrated by rallies, and a cult set up in shrines with idols and oracles. In Szczecin, the most important of the Pomeranian cities, the cult of Triglav developed. The name of this deity indicates the three heads of his idol. They signified authority over three kingdoms: heaven, earth, and underworld. The veneration of Triglav thus was in a way an ideological response to the cult of Christ, considered the ruler of all things. I have no picture of Triglav, but I have four-faced idol from Woliń, maybe.
Yeah, are you talking?
Yes, exactly. So it's necessary to stress and twins from two-headed idol from Fischer-Insel. So we are in the middle. 3 years without picture, and now with two heads. But I'm back. If we are talking about temple, the famous and very controversial Darek Sikorski confirmed reconstruction. Yes, I hope you are still in doubt about this reconstruction. And you, okay, so I am, how to say, maybe I will change this picture at once. However, such an impressively developed pre-Christian cult was an effective alternative to Christianity. However, in the first decades of the 12th century, the political and military pressure from the Christian side was increasing. In the Pomeranian communities, the inefficiency of the indigenous cult systems to ensure their security became apparent. However, Bolesław's subsequent victories did not deprive the Pomeranians of either their statehood or the power of their cities. The enforcement of sovereignty was in fact quite limited, basically a tribute. In this situation, the Christianization mission is seen primarily as an attempt to integrate the area with Poland on another level, precisely the ecclesiastical organization. Otto's mission is a part of a wider plan to expand the Polish network of bishoprics. It's not time. And we can see two bishoprics created in the time of the first mission of Otto. It's in Kujawia, firstly in Kruszwica and moved to Wrocławek, and in Lubus. So in Western Pomerania it should be the third or maybe even two bishoprics. There is a discussion about these plans, but it's important that it was the idea to enlarge Polish church, or maybe in the case of Pomerania, not exactly as Polish, but subordinated also to Bolesław Krzywousty. So he could be over 2 church provinces, in fact. It's a good topic for the further discussion. A rather loose political connection would have gained a parallel current binding Western Pomerania to Poland within the wider community of Christianities. The mission was, however, an extremely difficult challenge in this case, both for political and ecclesiastical reasons as well, as the confrontation itself with native, well-developed belief system. The candidature of Otto of Bamberg was the optimal solution. It's time for Otto. In view of the fact that German metropolises of Magdeburg and Hamburg-Bremen were claiming the lands of the Duchy of Wartislav, he could ensure the legitimacy of the mission on the basis of the authority of the Emperor, the Pope, and let us emphasize his own. Bamberg itself was also traditionally involved in missions among the Slavs, of whom there was no shortage in southern Germany. So this experience was also relevant here in preparing Otto's missionary activities, strategy and tactics, we can say. Finally, Otto himself had been a friend of the house of Bolesław the Rhineland. In his youth, he was a chaplain at his father's court. The key to success in Pomerania itself proved to be perfect mission organization and the art of persuasion, preaching, and ability to negotiate with the realm. The model of action in the various localities consisted first of bringing about a common decision to abandon paganism and abolish its shrines. This was followed by a stage of teaching and mass baptisms and a further cycle of rudimentary catechesis. It was also at this time that the building of churches and the consecration of altars began. Immediately to these outposts were staffed by priests who were arrived with Otto, and liturgical life and pastoral care began. Otto thus also took care of liturgical books, paraments, church bells, and of course, if necessary, the translators for the pastors' communication with the neophytes. Eventually, the network of churches established during Otto's 2 missionary journeys became the basis for the Pomeranian bishopric, which was founded after several years of effort. Finally, in 1140, it was here where we are just today in Wolińskie. This happened a year after the death of Otto, who continued to exercise custody of these churches in the Duchy of West Pomerania until the end of his life. And one question, I have 3 minutes or 30 seconds, dear Chairman. 3 minutes or 30 seconds?
No, 5 minutes.
Why? Otto's missionary methods took strongly into account the mentality of the so-called barbarians. The emphasis was not on intellectual arguments, but on the display of wealth and power, not only military, also authority as a person, for example. What today may seem very negative. It's, we can say, bad phase of proselytism, in fact. But But for example, such as giving gifts or emphasizing the military power of the Christian circle. But it was really important argument for the barbarians as a, you can say, in the missionary persuasion, because they could not, we can say, reckon with the God of their victors. So we can say that the Christian God has already been present in the religious imaginations of Pomeranians for generations, and Otto led them to accept Christ, hitherto a stranger, as their own God. Even the apostasy in Szczecin after Otto's first mission consisted of creating a syncretic system of worship in which the Triglav returned, but Christ remained. In this way, the unity of the community was restored, in which Christ had already gained recognition with at least some of its citizens. This was also how the optimum support from the supernatural sphere was sought. At the same time, this situation makes it clear that in the mentality and worldview of the first generation of Pomeranian neophytes, Christ was still one of many gods. However, the consistent persistence of the church network and pastoral care allowed Christianity to gradually and irreversibly consolidate, and eventually, after the creation of the parish network, to embrace the whole country within a few generations. Otto's work is thus seen as a turning point in the civilizational process in Western Pomerania between the 10th and 12th centuries. It was the decision of the Pomeranian communities themselves, both the elites gathered around the Duke and the leading urban centers, to join the political and religious circle of the Christianity of that time in terms of the public life. So thank you very much for your attention.